There we go, that might be better. I'm not going to start that again. What I was in the process of, what I did start off by saying though was that I got up to a certain point last night. I think I'm probably about halfway done with the solving of the clues and putting the various entries into the grid. One of the gimmicks though is that 39 of the clues have misprinted letters, and I've identified some of the corrections for those letters, but I'm just in the process of going through now and putting together all the corrections that I do have. Is that you, Darren? Yeah, X-word shark. Great to see you or hear you or whatever it is. I'm not sure that watching me solve crosswords is actually terribly interesting, but I'm really liking it because I like the. I know it's just a different routine when you're sort of forced to think out loud with during the solve. Alright, here we go. So, lots of down clues that we haven't really made any progress on yet. Of course, some of those gaps that I have there might not actually be corrected letters. They might be from clues that have extra words. This one here, for example. I wonder if the extra word here in this New York latest short of use kept aboard Dutch boat. I wonder if that might actually be the word use or use instead of kept. So it's H-E-L inside B-U-S-S. I was thinking the help without the P could be indicated by short of use. I was thinking about it last night. I think it could actually be held without the D, which is indicated by short of kept. Alright. There's not much that really jumps out to me from those corrected words so far. So from those corrections so far. It might be that letter pattern there, C or K, followed by H, I, S, R, S, doesn't really fit in with any conventional words I can think of, so it could be that I've actually got maybe I'm missing something there, or I've got something wrong. Maybe I'm missing something there. Romantic nose. So I wasn't quite sure about this idea that romantic could clue amorettes. But I think I jumped to the conclusion that nose must be an extra word, but I'm not sure about that. Nose could be a word that has a misprint. Romantic knots. Yeah. It's not an actual word, it's in fact another misprint there, so it puts, I think, a T between that R and that S, which might be a bit better. But John Harriet suggesting I say hello. Hello, John. I don't actually have Discord. But at work right now, but I'll pull up with for your next stream. Well, that's nice, thank you. Whatever that means. Could well be that I've got a few other mistakes here, what I've solved so far. There's another thing that's niggling me or bugging me is this idea here in the green highlighted portion that 8 cells contain 2 letters. One of them's checked. The other 7 are not checked, but presumably that means that there are 9 clues which need to lose a letter. That ties in with this idea that 9 of the sets of removed words from 10 clues define those altered entries. I think we worked out here which one was checked. It was cells down to cell, bushel down to bushes. In fact, I think I've got that wrong. I think bushels probably has to pull up short. So I think I can probably get an extra bar in here. The reason I think that's the case is if we only have 8 cells which have the extra letters, would ordinarily have 2 letters, but one's been removed, then but we need 9 amended words, then this cell which does contain, the cell which is checked, the removal of one letter must be from each of the crossing answers. And the crossing answers here, if it is that one cell, from cells and bushels, both give ls. Now I had previously removed the s from cells, but it would involve removing the s from bushels as well. I'm not sure that's right. I think it's probably the l that we need to remove, because at least then, I'm just going to put that in red, at least then we end up with amended words which are actually different to the original entries. So I suspect you're looking at cells, S-E-L-S, which I think is a Scottish word for selves. Then instead of bushels, we have bushes. I like that. I'm a little bit more comfortable with that now. That might help me try and identify some of these other words that might need to come out of some of the clues. So we have so far the extra words been nurses or in. Oh, here we go. No, this matches. So, can't quite pronounce it, but in the clue that gave us, in the cross clue there, gave us the word cells. We have cistaceae, can't pronounce that word, which is a type of bush. So there we go. I think we can say we have matched up that extra word. And cross that out. Come down here and say that is bushes. Beautiful. I like that. Happy with that. And sort of making every time I think something fits, it's just further confirmation that we're going about it the right way and we're on the right track. Right, where to now? We have a good bit of hay this morning. We have a down entry here which is 6 letters in length. It's after Rubio. Which means it must be this one here. Shabby Doyens carrying earth. Let me find that in my clue list. We know it's got the enumeration M something 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 Y. Oh. What could that be? I mean, shabby. I just want it to be an anagram indicator. We do have a Y here in this 6-letter word Doyen, so that could well be a good candidate for a word that needs correction. I think the Rubia gave us the S here, so if we are looking at an anagram indicator, to get the M, we'll need to change the word in Doyens, the letter in Doyens to M. And that would give us a correction of, which gives us a string of characters which still doesn't look plausible of SRTSM, so I'm not sure how that could be something, but I mean, carried see whether that could define a word that ends in Y. Let's just put aside doyums, that's not a word, is it? No, I'm not even sure. Yeah, we could replace it. I'm probably barking up the wrong tree there. Shamby, maybe. MBY. No. Definitely barking up the wrong tree there. Of course, could be a word meaning Doyens or a variation of it which contains an E for earth. So maybe shabby is not an anagram indicator, it's actually just it's a definition itself. Out of the crossword dictionary for some words that might mean shabby. Mangy could be right. Or mangy. That's 6 little words which would fit. So mangy and mangy. Yeah. And both of those would fit, and I do like the mangy in particular because it has an E in it, but it's not sure. Not sure how that could fit in with Dwayne's. I mean, mangy isn't really a word that's any different, so mangy in fact also means scabby. Scabby and shabby. Not sure about that. Just can't quite work out how we would get either of these words from that wordplay. And I'm bearing in mind that if this is a container clue, so something containing E, and we would be looking for a word that's a one-letter variation on doyens, and the only thing I can think of is, off the top of my head, is dozens. No, I'm just not happy with either of those. Not happy with either of them. Where else? Where to next? We have another 6-letter entry appearing right after that, so let's just go down here, and we have even more of an enumeration of that one. CH, something R, something P. Cheap singer in court. Cheap singer in court. Part of me just wants to say chirp. I like the idea of which sort of brings to mind a bird related answer, I suppose. Cherub, if it was a bee. Chirp. Cheer up. It's a variation. This is a word. Cheer up. Singer is sure. Turn the time. In court. Can I mean, let's have a look. Chirp. It's the same as chirrup. So I'm getting messages. It means to chirp. It means to cheer up as well. No doubt that's why. I can't change a single letter of cheap to make chirp or cheer, because we need to change 2 letters. Is up an indicator for in court? But up's one of those words that just has so many. So yeah, in or into court is up. So I mean, I'm confident that's the answer. I'm just not sure. How it's defined. Cheer up. Cheer up. Oh, Darren's chimed in. Not to interfere. No, the interference is welcome. I can't remember the individual answers, but it could be dozens, many. Oh, of course. Earth, I didn't think about GE's abbreviation of Earth. How does GE get to Earth? Oh, Gaia, of course. Greek mythology. Mother of Uranus and the rest. Oh, that is tricky. Thanks for the steer on that, Darren. Really appreciate it. Where are we? So it gives us Z here is the actual letter, mangy. So something one comes across often. Yeah, there we go, mangy. So we do have a string of unusual characters, but I mean that's corrected letters, but maybe that's not particularly unusual because we do have all those very strange markers in the carte blanche grid anyway, so presumably relates to those. I'm going to also put in here as the next to include cherub, but not quite sure what the corrected letter we're looking for is yet. I think I'm confident enough that that must be the answer, because we definitely have wordplay which gives, the singer in cork does give sure up. Let's go back to Chambers. This word to chirp, to make a clucking sound with the mouth. Oh, cheap. C-H-E-E-P, that's of course what it means to chirp. Oh, I'm an idiot. Here we go, off to the races. There we go. I think that means that we have, what was it, an extra corrected letter is an E, so put that there. At least I've got some of those corrected letters in that little chunk wrong. It looks like we do have a very unusual string of letters which probably does not make a proper word. It's not in English. Klingon verbs. Okay, where to next? So we're just solving the 6-letter entries that touch the end of the grid, and it looks like we have, just looking at the clues here, we in fact have 4 more 6-letter entries. It might be that we in fact have to remove some of those, or compress some of those answers to make a 5-letter entry, which we still are. We only have 3 of the 8 cells where that happens identified so far. Let's just see, if we go along here after mangy and cherub, what spots do we have where we could fit 6-letter entries in? We potentially have 3. Oh no, we do potentially have 4. However, they would have to go no, here we go. Look at this, because mixed amongst those we also have one of 5 like, so just think about how we can do this symmetrically, working backwards from the other end of the grid. First down clues of 6, potentially. Second down clues of 5, they could go there. How with the third and fourth down clue, each also being of 5 only. Then we go on to kaka. I'm just going to compare that to what we've identified here at the end. And I just need to be careful because we do in fact have, after cherub, we do have one entry which is of length 6. But then before we have an entry which is of length 5, before we go on, we do have an entry which is only of length 5. Of course, if it was here, actually, how does that work? How do we have an entry of length 6 coming after an entry of length 5 coming after an entry of length 6 if it does in the same row? Well, it has to start in that same row. So we can only have rotationally the entries can be a bit tricky to work out. Okay. But I'm confident that I think at least 2 of these entries here at the end must not act, which are enumerated as giving answers of 6, must in fact be answers which become entries of length 5. What I'm troubled by is where do I start this entry which is only of length 5. Actually, no, it's not troubling at all, because if I make these potential, if I reflect what I've got there, here, I'm supplying rotational symmetry to what I had set out in the top part of the grid. That would mean that after cherub, the next down clue in order would in fact be this one that starts from this cell here on the end, which must be our well-off chap. Now, if that was the case, that must be the last entry of length 6 that could actually be only 6 characters in length. Which means that each of these clues here must be clues that give answers that lose a letter. So it'll become clues of length 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3 spaces here. I think that has to be correct. I think it has to be correct. But it might also be that the first down clue does not start in the first cell. I could maybe do a switcheroo like this. If I do a switcheroo like this, then just apply that to this side here. And that is another possibility. Oh, sorry, go like this. That is another possibility. Excuse me. So I think what I can take from that, and this should fix up the issue, is that the well-off chap cuddled by a female is either going to be a 6-letter entry which runs down the penultimate column to the bottom, or a 6-letter entry that runs down the final column, which will potentially give those enumerations. I think, is that logic correct? Could be completely wrong. I think it has to be, because we only have one 6-letter entry in those first 4 starting clues, so we know that there is only one, and it has to be either in that first row or second row of the first column or second column of the top left-hand side of the grid, because if it's not, if for example no, it has to be in the final column, because it has to be. So it has to be in the first column, the 6-letter entry. Because if it isn't, if it's not, then we would only have, I think that's the way it has to be. So S something A something something E is a well-off chap cuddled by a female. A chap could be a man, M-A-N. Female you always want it to be. Not female be she, so you want it to be she around something. She around a man, or a chap. And chap can also have different words as well, but we're looking for a word that means well off, so let's just... where are we? So she could... Chap could be a candidate for a misprint. It could be chat, char, chad. And the S and the E strongly suggest that the female we are looking for is she. When just looking at, and what could we have there? Swath. Is that a word? To bind or bandage. Band, broad band. I don't like that. And just looking at other words that potentially come after, before an H. It's going to be one of those words that's just so obvious, I think. Well-off chap. Like I said, chap is the most likely candidate for a misprint. Has to be. But that letter combination just isn't cluing me into much. So let's look at... Well off, flush, lucky, loaded, moneyed. sure. I think we previously supposed that the Bread Furiously bit might be this part here. I do like braid for that, but I'm not sure. I was thinking before about if bread changes to Brad and then that goes around an A. But it could also be beard, and maybe, one can be indicated by the letter A. So, coming down here, I've been thinking about changing bread to Brad around I, which gives braid, but I couldn't really make that work with something else. But the enumeration we have here is B something A something D. Bread around, I should say an anagram of bread around A for one, could be beard. And then I suppose it's a question of whether or not we can find a misprint in the letter own, which is only the word own, that would, when corrected, give us a word meaning beard. A beard can be a few different things. They grow on your face and bow an awn. So a beard is also an awn or a thread-like spike on the ears of barley. Of course, awn is only one letter away from own, so that must be the answer. So we can whack that one in. Where are we? Beard. Gives us A for the misprint. We can complete that answer there. The misprint is 2 after the corrected E for cherubs. I think my M dashes here are becoming M dashes, which is one of the giveaways, I think, for the use of ChatGPT. M dashes are becoming increasingly popular. Alright. So we have that, we have our beard. And the fact that the beard's the whole way over here tends to confirm that we really only do have one 6-letter word. Every single one of these subsequent 6-letter words, which include from spindule, rufescent, fruiting, passage, Caliban's cage, became mouldy, trove, talked of, and with needlework, girl bags, trunk, egos, and Caledonia up. They must be the answers that give the entries, which eventually go in these parts of the this part of the grid. So a well-off chap, I'm confident, is our S something A something something E. Our spindule, rufescent fruit must be, after corrections, something R something TE. Caliban's cage must be something A something ED. And our girl with needlework must, after correction, be something T something LE. Okay. Bow beating what? One of the actual words we have is browbeating. It's a word we took out of another clue. That it could be clued by irate. That could define the word irate. Browbeating. If it's browbeating it's only given in Chambers as a noun, not as an adjective. So I'm barking up the wrong tree there because of course we can't, as a general rule, use one part of speech to define another part of speech. Caliban's cage, I was looking at this yesterday and I was thinking to myself that we're definitely looking for a word meaning cage or maybe a variation of it from The Tempest. We've come across it before, it just doesn't come to mind. I mean, it could be wrong. I mean, it could be that Caliban's cage is the two words that need to be removed from there, because if we are looking for a word that means became mouldy, that could give us this little word that ends in ed. So maybe there's just a simple homophone clue without corrections, and we're looking for a homophone of trove. Collection of treasured things. Ownerless objects of intrinsic historical value is treasure trove, and trove is short for treasure trove. Not sure. Just not sure. But it could be what's going on there. With needlework, girl bags drunk egos. In Caledonia up. I mean, I thought we were looking for something around an anagram of egos there, but
Bye.
See ya. If those letters are correct, then there really isn't any room for that. In Caledonia are up. No, nothing comes to mind. Nothing comes to mind here. Let's go and have a look at another part of the grid. So we're potentially getting some feedback from the grid on, I think this one here after Kanema. So this is going to have to be a word which goes S something C something something something. Provided pound for payment for droid. And we have what else? The one after it is going to be, just looking at the grid, 1, 2, 3, something R, something. We've got mark, we've got threnos. Nothing before Bahari, but the gas stove that is full of junk is going to have to be a 1, 2, 3, B something, N, E. I'll just space it out a bit there. And before aerate, we have this is one of those entries where you definitely need to squeeze something in. I like it ends in a G. I like the G for coming from government. Went post haste. Sped. Give me a sec. I'll take this call. Hello. I'm good, how are you? Alright, back to it. Sorry about that. Where were we up to? I'm looking at some of these across clues, I think. Have a look at. There is another one. So before salt eel, we've worked out that. So we do have some more letters here for this clue. And confirm. Confirm that. I arrange. Saturday review. I mean, it's short for Saturday, could be S or Sat. No longer beginning before middle of April. I mean, middle of April is definitely a clue for I range. Clue defined by I range, I think. No, should be at work. Where are we? Saturday review. No longer beginning. Or Saturday no longer beginning. Maybe reviews an extra word. There's nothing here. There's probably a clue with an extra word or two in it because it is quite lengthy. There's nothing which is suggestive of, in my mind, a misprinted or misspelt word. What are we looking at for anagrams and abbreviations of Saturday? I mean, I've definitely got Sat, but is it in Chambers? It is. Is SA an anagram of Saturday? Not according to Chambers. I don't think S is an anagram of Saturday according to Chambers. So let's assume that for Saturday we have SAT. Review no longer beginning. Or it could be review no longer, that could be words to something there, person who arranges. Before can be ERE, I think. But that, if that was the case, in literary sense. I mean, satira, I don't believe is a word. The other reason why that doesn't work is because it involves potentially the removal of 4 words, and we can only remove up to 3 consecutive words from a clue. When review no longer, if we remove that, we have we could be removing an archaic definition for review, or a definition for an obsolete word for review. Same with this, if we remove these 2 words, it could be an obsolete word or an archaic word meaning beginning. That's what they could define. And review no longer, in the context of wordplay, could also be word meaning no longer returned. Just straight up pen search on. I mean, we don't get. We simply don't get anything popping up for SATE something ER. So, a supposition there about Saturday. It's abbreviated to SAT is just completely wrong. So let's try to go down a different path. What if before is in fact E, R, E, and then we do have the middle of April being R, and EREs. No, I don't think, it probably doesn't need an extra indicator. Because Chambers only says it's usually a literary word, it's not, so it's poetic. Could be an orderer. So an orderer is somebody who arranges. I arrange review. Maybe Saturday's an extra word. I arrange review no longer. I mean, maybe it's ord, a word which means review. It's an obsolete word meaning beginning. We're right. This is a clue which has an extra words in it, but it is not no longer or beginning before. The extra words were Saturday review. It's not a way to define something. Maybe it's something I'm not quite aware of. Where are we? So, for Salt Hill, we have Saturday review. The answer is orderer. What's in here? That fits in neatly, I think. Saturday review. What on earth is a Saturday review? A recap? I suppose. I mean, is it something that you need to be British to know about? It's a TV show. Saturday review. Anyway, I'm sure all will become apparent eventually. Another one, Dan. I wonder if we probably have enough here to try and work out what some of these other down clues might be. So we have, after for seat, we have a 4-letter word and then a 3-letter word. So the 4-letter word is given by this clue. The shrine number on plate formed by rectangle. Now these are going to have to be in the top right-hand column. So the top right-hand region of the grid. So they're going to be have this enumeration, OG something N, or this enumeration. Sorry. And so much is poetic direction is either going to have that enumeration, RE something, or that enumeration. I mean, I know which one looks most like. Most like it could be the correct one. So this one. And if we go down here as well and look at what this 4-letter down clue and this 3-letter down clue could be, we have there's a possibility for the 3-letter answers. We have something OD, and we have something RE. There's possibilities for the 4-letter answers. If I'm correct, we have something RE or something DA. Huh. Dada? No. I was looking at canary bones thrown up thinking, well, are we looking for... Are we looking for canaries in a rat or somebody who's a whistleblower or a informer? So one word was dog. Not sure. Yeah, but, and I suspect that bones would probably give us a corrected letter. Boars thrown up. Canary be a sod. Do's. DOS reversed. SOD. Tones could be does, if that's a T. DO's in do, re, mi. So I think it can be spelled with a H on the end, but it can also be spelled with a D on the end. So maybe it's tones thrown up. Can a sod be a canary? Sod is turf. An obnoxious person. Can a canary be an obnoxious person? It's a songbird, a bright yellow colour, sweet wine, a lively dance, informer of convict to sovereign. Can't really see a connection between a canary and a sod. I said, oh, it's a shame because the tones thrown up would make sense for the wordplay. Unless that S changes, it really does. Sod. Obnoxious person. Turf. Recovering sod. Canary. Songbird. Bright yellow colour. A wine and dance. Informer. A convict. Yeah, I'm just not saying it. Canard. So canary, the Y could change to a D. A false rumour, a hoax, second win. No. Maybe there's something I'm missing there, maybe I've got... Maybe there's just something... We've actually made some other mistake in the grid. A figure shaped by a revolution stopped on it. I mean, stopped on it. I always wanted to be stepped on it. Figure shaped by a revolution. Oval or bore or hole. Shaped by revolution, stepped on it. Core. No. What was I looking at up here? We're looking at some of the other down clues. So shrine number on plate, say born by recto. Is RO an abbreviation for recto? I think it is. Yeah, RO is an abbreviation for recto. So there's something inside RO. Rego. So say gives EG, as in, for example, born by recto means EG inside RO. The answer is rego. Let's put that in, and then we can spend a bit of time working out why the definition is correct. That also confirms that a 4-letter one down here is the one ending RE. Right. Rego, we're going to have, so a number on plate is a registration number, so I think shrine then is an additional word. Happy with that? Nice. Which means that a poetic direction is definitely EN something. I don't think. Yes, I think it must be EN something, because it comes before Loris's, and I think, given the feedback that we are otherwise getting from the grid, if it comes before Loris's, it must be in that top right hand corner of, must start in that top right hand cell of the grid. Do we have anything after? No, we can probably get some more grid lines in there. We can probably, in fact, complete all of the bars in the grid now, because of all those suppositions we've made. So I'm just going to put this here. I think we've also identified the 9 clues which are affected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 clues where the entries are shortened form of the answer. We have that. We're also going to have some bars here, and here, here, and here. And one here and here. Here, and here. I think this is now our completed grid with bars. Has to be. I like that. So let's come up to this across after Converse, because I think we've now got Connemara. We've now got an extra G in here. Provide a pound for payment for droid. And droid could, of course, become a druid. Sockage? A sockage is a payment of rent of some sort, I think. Yeah. feudal tenure. Payment made by a sockager. So payment for a druid potentially. Is a druid a feudal priest among the ancient Celts? Made by a sockager. I think I'm provided. That can be. Provided is so, of course. Hound would be a cage in the sense of a dog pound, I believe. Let's just check that. Which does give us sockage. So, there, an enclosure in which to keep stray animals is a pound, which I think gives cage. So I'm confident that the answer to this clue is in fact sockage. But it's not. I mean, it could well be payment for druid. Feudal, sort of, but a druid is a more particular thing. I mean, a druid's a priest, an ancient priest. And why would it only be a druid who? Anyway, I'm going to just highlight that word droid. So I think that's where the misprint is. But I am satisfied that the answer to that is sockage. Include that, and of course that does give us one second, let me just, that does give us in this down here, so much is poetic direction, E-N-E, which is the direction, of course, is east-north-east. And it is a poetic contraction of even. So what then do we have as the misprint? It's got to be so much as. So instead of is, it has to be as. So much as. And we can probably confirm that by confirming that so much as is given as a definition of even. It is so much as. Alright, so where are we? It's one of the downs. East, north, east. Simple little double definition clue. So much as the corrected letter is an A. And if we go back up to our list of corrections, it's here. I think I've missed one. I've missed one when I was typing that out. There we go. Just by putting that R there, I think we might end up with a string of characters that is more likely to make words. I'm liking this. This is good progress. It's good progress. Alright. Where does that leave us? I think Well, we've now got that top right hand side of the grid done. We have identified the 9 clues where the answers lose a letter to become the entries. So we know where those things are. We can probably go a little bit further than that. I think we can say, well, we know that these entries here are all entries which have lost it, but because we know that the position of the lost letter is going to be unchecked in all but one of them, and we already have the 2 entries which share a cell, which share the checked cell. I think for these 3 clues, which are clued as 6-letter clues but are in fact only 5-letter entries, those are the only unchecked cells, their first cells. So we know the position of the lost entries there. That helps us because it means that when we are looking at the enumerations, what we already have, on the clues, we don't need to guess any more about where the position of the lost letter might be. It's always going to be at the start. For these 3 clues, it's to spin your Rufus and fruit, Caliban's cage, and with needlework. I like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So where would the other 2 be? We have one's going to have to be here or here because we know the first entry is affected in that way. The one for Durnley, do we have the one after Riata? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So one's going to be here, and I think one of them is going to be here in either this cell or that cell. Most likely in this cell, because if that is a word ending ing, it seems very unlikely that there's an extra letter between the I and the G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 places where we're confident the letter has been lost between the answer to the clue and the entry, and we know what the 2 candidates for the 8th spot are in the first row, first entry in the first row. Okay, this is good. This is quite good. Coming back then to, we haven't done much work on the top left-hand corner of the grid. So maybe that's what we need to focus on now, but we haven't got much to work with. I mean, Arab relatives to box, Qatar, winners outside. Doesn't really give us much. I mean, it seems to be something around the letter Q, which is the IVR code for Qatar. Department bid, we know that's something S, something. To get nothing cancels Easter. Then we have something E, something. We also got it in. So this is going to be the letter C, which is abbreviated American slang for $100 in charges for Canadian flax. So got a C in here somewhere. Probably an S on the end, in fact. C could be there, it could be here. But if we open C inside an abbreviated word, or it could, charge could be charged, but I was thinking about icons before, as in C in ions, but can't really make that fit. Group of cello players finally. I was wondering if that was a group of cells, but we have that same enumeration there. Something S, something, something, something. So I mean, players finally filling in Grant could be S inside four-letter word for Grant. And grant is to allow or to let, but I think looking at that, we're probably looking for a word meaning grant that starts with a vowel, potentially. And I really do like the idea of the misprint being here in the word cello, and it in fact being a group of cells. And a group of cells can be a grid, like a crossword grid, but it can also, I suppose, potentially be definition of, in a biological sense, what is a group of cells? Look at this. What if I is from in, and then grant is simply let? We have islet. And a small group of cells. I was right. The O becomes... It's just a little bit sneaky, because filling in is not part of the insertion indicator. Only filling is the insertion indicator, and in is just an indication of I, and we see that here in this little entry we find in Chambers, I apostrophe, which is a form of in. Marvellous. It's such a simple, neat little trick, and I always get caught by it by things like that, because another one is when you have four can just simply mean the word A, so the letter A in the sense of, where is it? Oh, it's probably somewhere. I can't find it. But it's, yeah, as I say, it's a neat little thing, because it disguises part of the wordplay within what one would ordinarily presume is a different part of the wordplay. So, islet. I had no idea that an islet was a group of cells. But it's nice when your hunch is proven to be correct. So, islet would give us a corrected S here just before there. Okay. Then of course so I'm just going to tidy up this a little bit. Wake after remarkably clear remembrance. Oh, that's cool. Look at this. So if I copy this word here, Chambers is automatically set to look that up just by putting that on my clipboard. No, that's quite clever, I think. It also gives us the final an E here for this entry before mark. And it gives us I there in either the second last, but this is one of those entries that changes from 7 letters to 6 letters, so it could be in fact in the third last position, or it could be in the penultimate position, depending on where we lose that letter from between the answer and the entry. I was looking at some of these down clues, so let's go back to those. So we have department bid to get nothing cancels Easter. Department could be an abbreviation for D, but I don't see where it necessarily fits in there. Bid to get nothing cancels Easter. Nothing cancels Easter. And Easter is a feast, but I'm not sure what. Easter is a noun and a particular noun, so I think it would only really define something if it was used as a clue by definition, but that is not what seems to be happening here. I don't think, an Easter can also be a breeze or a wind, I think, but once again that could only be a clue by definition. Adjectival sense, situated to the east of. Could Easter be used there as a directional indicator, as like a reversal indicator? I haven't seen that before. I've seen from the east or coming from the east, but I'm just wondering whether that's what's going on here. If we look at bid to get nothing, or get nothing cancels reversed, as in coming. Oh no, it's a down clue. So of course a horizontal directional indicator would not be used to indicate a reversal of a down clue. You can have to the north or to the south, but not that. Okay. 100 in charges. Charges could be fees for Canadian flax. And I wonder if it's in fact faeces. F-E-C. Is that a North American spelling of feces with an A? It is. Excrement. So I think that's what the answer is going to be. But we've probably got a correction that we need to make to the word flax to give us a word that means feces. Not really up to date on my excrement related synonyms. JM has asked as agreed. I think we're definitely on the right track there with faces. I'm so confident that I am going to pencil it in. But maybe we can come back to what the misprint is. So we are making good progress. Definitely faces is the answer. Which, just coming back to some of these across clues, does give us some more input, so some more feedback, and some more of those crossing letters. Hello, JMSR525. Welcome to my stream. You join one other viewer to make a total of 2 viewers. If you have any ideas as we're looking at particular clues, feel free to let me know and give me a nudge. Hello from America. Hello from Australia. Do you solve cryptics over there, or do you solve American style crosswords? What's the wake one? I'm not sure if I know what the wake crossword is. Oh, so you have the wake one. You have the wake answer. Give me a second. Let me try and find that. Where is it? Wake after remarkably clear remembrance. Oh, I see. So I'm not sure what the gimmick is with this clue, whether or not it has a misprint. Ah, wonderful. So you have a bit of cryptic expertise here. Do you have the answer to this wake clue with a misprint or with extra words identified? If it's helpful, that clue does have a misprint. Okay. Wake after. And wake could be call. It's going to be recall, right? So a remembrance is a recall. Of course, so the wake becomes lake to give us an L. Remarkably is an anagram indicator, so we are anagramming the letters of clear and we're putting an L for lake after it, and then we get a remembrance, which is a recall. Thank you for that. That's very helpful to know that I'm looking for a misprint. Where are we? So recall. Swell. That means we can put our. What do we? So it's after the I N L. Oh, sorry, not there. Where is it? It's going to I N E L. So I think that's where the L goes. Yeah, before the other E. That's right. Wonderful. Certainly feel free to join in on some of the other ones. I'd be grateful for the assistance to get this over the line before I go to work. This one here, for example, luminant. I suspect this is one with a misprint where the L must become an R to give us ruminant. Ruminant. An animal that chews the cud, and word for star returning cloudy somewhat. I mean, cloudy somewhat could be D-I-M but without the M on the end, so I mean, we could be looking for 4 letters inside D and I. I was thinking before about whether or not star is name, but I'm not sure. Let me just see if Damani's a thing. No, it's not. So I don't think it's that, but I mean, that could be a way of approaching this. I mean, what could star backwards? It could just be star backwards. Is drasty something? Or dratsy? No. Anyway, that's what I was thinking for luminant. I wonder if that is an L change into an R. I wonder where that leaves us there. I'll put an R here. which is plausible for the corrections. It's very plausible for the corrections. Who are we? I feel like that should be rather straightforward. Where's the gas stove? Now that's starting to look like a gas, right? Full of junk. That is, I think, is an eye. Let me have a look. Contained stone that is full of drunk. So I think it's a misprint there. Full of bine, something B-I-N-E. So junk could be a bin, and we're looking for. So it could be bin inside a four-letter word for stove, or a synonym of a word which is only a letter off stove. Yes, I think you're right about that. I don't think. I was thinking that is in IE's full of junk, but I think it is actually stove in the misprint. We're thinking that the misprint is in stove, and that is four-letter word means stove, which is filled with bin for junk. So bin in stove. Stove means something that ends in. I mean, store. So obviously, candidate for the misprint is the V, so it could be stone or store. We're looking for gas. And a gas can be all types. Is carbonic gas? So that could be care, which could be, I suppose, an anagram of store. No. Carbon's not a gas. Stone does have an abbreviation. So stone can be abbreviated to ST. We see that there in Chambers. It absolutely can. Okay. All right. Let's. I assume then, if stone can be abbreviated to ST, that confirms that you have the correct answer. Then I assume that you'll operate on the basis that this is a word that starts with ST. There's a gap. B something. N-E. So maybe we are looking at IE for stibine. Is that a gas? It is. It's a poisonous gas. Not a word that I knew of. But impressive. You must be up with your poisonous gases. There we go. Stibine. Beautiful. Where was that in the scheme of things? Gas stove, here we go. Stibine. It is, the V becomes an N. And I think in the scheme of things that goes here. Very happy with that. Yeah, well, you must have a chemistry background. I'm pleased that you've joined the stream, and I'm pleased for your assistance. Thank you. That does give us some more feedback for two clues. The first one is this four-letter clue down the bottom, and the second one is think the first down clue. Now, this is an interesting one because I think we're looking for a relative of a horse. Our relatives being the definition of something that's related to horses, and I think we're also looking for something go around the word Q, the letter Q. But I'm just going to come back to that one after, because I'm wondering if we have figure shaped by revolution stopped on it. But it's really only one thing it could be. It's either going to be a tyre or a tyre with a Y or an I. SB is antibody. That's... Yes, I see. Right. Of course, I see how the B in bin would lead you that way. That would lead the B in bin would lead you towards antibody, and therefore styrene. It's impressive solving because it's such an obscure word, I suppose. Well, I suppose it's obscure for those of us who aren't chemists. Although I would be concerned if anybody had a familiar working knowledge of styrene, being a poisonous gas. A figure shaped by revolution. If we say that's a tyre, revolution stopped on it. How do we get that from, stepped on it? Just wondering how we get tyre from that wordplay here. It could also be tall. So to step on it, we could have stopped on it changing to stepped on it, which is to tear or to speed. So stepped on it is the past tense of speed, is in tore. And it could just be a simple double definition clue, because a torus is of course a circular sort of figure, and there we go, a tor, under the definition of torus and chambers, a tor is also that. So this is just a simple double definition clue, which is very cleverly disguised. So tor, T-O-R-E, where are we? That gives us, and it was that misprint of stopped to stepped did jump out when I first looked at the clue, but it's funny how, I'm not necessarily good at recognising, and my dictionary knowledge isn't that great, so my pattern recognition isn't that great either. So I do need a little bit of feedback and a little bit more thinking before I can crack some of these things. That gives us a little bit more feedback for this clue. So we do know now that we have an O in the second letter. Once again, this is one of those clues where the entry loses a letter for... sometimes you do need to get into the neighbourhood. With or without the U. I've never understood why American English decided it was going to drop all the superfluous letters, drop superfluous letters like U. And I wonder if it, because English just branched branched out at a time when, or American English branched out at a time when maybe fewer people were literate, so it was sort of able to forge its own spelling conventions. Rod entering lower government, overturning Scotch. Now, I did have this idea when I first looked at this clue that lower could be a cow, as in a moo cow, to low is to moo. So I wonder if we're looking at something like that, and government is G, and whether the clue is simply a word meaning rod or something like it, which would then be something ing, so something in between C, O, W and G. And it might be that perhaps I'm not sure what would... How do we get a definition then out of those 4 words? I mean, this may be a clue where some words are removed, but whatever you remove, it has to be a definition in itself, and it also has to leave a definition. So you can remove, so went post haste, but I'm not sure overturn. Oh no, of course, Scotch is an indicator for a Scottish word, and we do have a present tense. That if what we're left with is overturning Scotch, then we are left with something that could well clue a word that ends in ing. And we know that whatever letter goes in here, it is going to be removed before entry into the grid, because or it could be the W that's removed. So I mean, is cowing a Scottish word for overturning? I'm not up with my Scottish words, and I don't know why they're in English dictionaries. Cowpin, pin, to overturn, cowpin. Of course, a pin is a rod. JMSR says, yep, your pass gave me enough to find it, I'm glad. So pin inside cow and G gives us cowpin. I like that. And we know that then that we are removing went post haste, so that is a definition that will clue something else. What we don't know though is when we, just give me a moment, when we come to enter this clue, the entry here, we don't know whether we are entering coping or cowing. I'm fairly sure cowing. Cowing is a word to subdue or keep under, and coping is also a word. Actually, I think we're entering cowing, because cowing would line up with browbeating, wouldn't it? To subdue the spirit of. So that suggests to me that our word here is likely to be cowing, and we can then match this up with the extra letter that we have here, the extra word that we have here, which is browbeating. So we've done that. I'm just going to add this up here, so we have cowing, cross that out. We've lost the L from bushels, we've lost the P from cowpin. Just trying to keep track of these as I go. I mean, dearly's, I think, going to match up with fondly. So one of the entered words we have is dearly, and that is screaming out, I think, for us to treat the word fondly from the first across clue as an extra word. Has to be. Because if I search through the clues, I can't find other adjectives, adverbs. Dearly is an adverb, isn't it? Adverbs that could accord or could be defined by, or could define the word dearly. So I'm fairly sure in the first across clue that is what we're dealing with. An extra dearly. And the clue could be battering, which might mean that we're in fact looking for something NG. Baffling? Baffing? Baffing? They're going to take the G out. Is baffing a word? It is. To baff is to batter, potentially. But if we lose a G, do we have... No. I'm not sure how baff... baffing could come from brill, not without issue, but... But I suspect the... Actually, no, base can give us a B. So I have a B here. Brill... could be biffing. Battering could be biffing. Let's check that. What I'm really looking for is a word where, not biffing, where I'll get rid of the G on the end because we know that we lose a letter from the entry to get the entry. Biffing is a red cooking apple, and no. Look, I'm not quite sure of how this is passed, but we do have, check this out. If I enter this as biffing, B-I-F-F-I-N, we have a red cooking apple given us the extra words in another clue. So down here we have rufescent fruit, which is one of the down clues. Rufescent fruit, which is clearly, well, rufescent means red. That is clearly an extra word there. Look up SP in Chambers. Without issue. Brill was in spiffing, without issue. Not without issue. So brill is spiffing without the SP, which gives us biffing. Beautiful. And that confirms that fondly is the word that we are removing from the first clue. That matches up with dearly. Confirm the removal of the N from Durnley. I'll write this in here, dearly. Just want to try and keep track of them. Biffin. Biffin. Put that there, cross that out. Write it in above the rufescent fruit. And circle the G to remind myself that that's what we got rid of. Beautiful. Spiffin, brill, spiffin, not without issue. Sine pro, sign pro. I mean, it's an abbreviation which we've all come across before, but it certainly didn't come to mind. For me. Okay, so where does that give us? That gives us B for the first letter of the first down clue. We also have the first three letters of the next one as well. I-S-E. We have, so when we solved cowing, we also solved this one, it seems, cod. Bones is, of course, a doctor, so doc thrown up, doc reversed is cod. How do we... Oh, sorry. There must be a typo then in canary to give cod. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is canard, but I don't think that's a... I know canard is a hoax. Is that a sense of cod? Yeah, cod is a hoax. So, okay. So canary becomes canard. Let me... Where are we? Canard? Cod gives us that... Oh, let me spell in there. That's promising. So we have a message that ends in ends. Wonderful. Get in there. So just look at my phone quickly. Alrighty. Where do we venture to next? I mean, we do have sorry, I might move this down here. Just that green highlighting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got the confirmed positions of those 8 cells which got lost a letter. I mean, Lin, it might be I'm removing the wrong letter from lion. Maybe it's... Lon gives longitude. Lin is Spencerian or obsolete word for cease. Also a water pool for a pool. Or a deep ravine. I'm just wondering if some of the other extra words have pulled out. No. Went post haste. Is that... Does post haste mean formally or does it mean quickly? No, it means hastily. So I was wondering, no, so it might be... I was wondering if Lin could be defined by... No, it can't be defined by when post haste, that's silly. It's totally silly. Cells, S-E-L-S is of course the other one we need to find a definition for, and that's the Scottish word for self. So, presumably it's, cells is the Scottish word for selves, but I'm not quite sure where we're pulling that out of. Caliban's cage. I think that's an extra clue. It was Caliban trapped in a waterfall in The Tempest? So, I mean, it's been so long since I've read The Tempest. Caliban's cage waterfall, because that could potentially give... I mean, it's... The Tempest waterfall. I've got no idea. It's probably a bit of a stretch, I think. Probably need to have a look at the... we need to have a look at the plot for The Tempest. Caliban's a savage monster figure. Characters. Enslaved servant of Prospero. The island's only inhabitant was Caliban. Crossbow conjured up a storm. Something that jumps out at me there. Goblins in the shape of hounds. Anyway, I mean, maybe. Yeah. And I do think that Caliban's cage is maybe an extra definition. I mean, we also have selves, but S-E-L-S, Scottish word for selves, presumably, but still can't see how that could have been. How that could be where that would come from in some of these clues. We do have plans for Edmund, and that's a Spencerian word. I don't think that's going to define Lynn. Maybe I've got a few things misattributed somewhere, but or maybe I've got the wrong words. I don't think I do that. I'm definitely looking for cells, the definition of the word cells, because bushes was given by. Bushes was given by something else. Right, where to now? Let's have a look at the first Dan clue. Arab relatives to box kata winners. The World Cup was held in Qatar. Who won the World Cup? Maybe Qatar isn't an indication of a queue. Maybe Qatar is an indication for the winner of the actual winners of the World Cup. I don't even know who won the recent World Cup in Qatar. Qatar or Qatar? Qatar, I'm not sure. Anyway. Arab relatives to box Qatar winners. Outside. Sure, read that. We did have this one. Department bid to get nothing cancels Easter. Bid. Bad. Nothing cancels Easter. Huh. Nothing. We have just having a look at the remaining clues in that top left hand section of the grid. Dixie brother Earl's wild plans for Edmund. And brother can be frère, I think. That's French, a French word for brother. That does fit in there. In with the letters that we have. Earls can give E potentially, but don't otherwise like it. It is also the sort of letter combination that so I'm just thinking as I'm talking. But I think Dixie, mate. Dixie's a military cooking pail. Do we take that? No, I don't think we do. It's also, I think, an American indicator because it's a word that means southern states of the US. I mean, I would prefer it if this was an American word for brother followed by E for Earl. Fairly sure E is an abbreviation of Earl, given by Chambers. It is. So, an American word for brother perhaps, followed by E for Earl, giving wild plans for Edmund, or maybe a variation of that. Wild plant for Edmund, potentially. So maybe a Spencerian word for some sort of shrub. If there was a T, if it was a plant instead of plans, where would that, what would that give us? That would give us a T after sockage and before ERO. Potentially give us a T there, I think. What if that's... just coming back to that, looks. I suspect that could be letter, the word letter, which means that, I mean, I hadn't worked out what the extra letter is from, or what the correct letter is from droid, but I wonder if it's droot. So droot is a legal right or a claim. So I'm confident there that I'm not looking to change it to the clue for sockage from droid to druid. We're in fact looking to change it to droot or dra. I think it's like a French English, like an old French administrative word. Old French word, in fact, it says there. It comes from "On histoire que mal your pens," which I think is "for God on my right," which appears in various coats of arms, I think. That gives us, if I'm right about, I think we're looking for a plant for Edmund here, not plans for Edmund. So American word for brother followed by E gives wild plant for Edmund. I'm going to come back to that because that means as well that I suspect from Cowther I had this clue entered as one that gives an extra word, either nurses or in. I'm going to come revisit this clue because I think the message that we're actually looking for might actually be 9 letter. So the clue was plant Catholic nurses left in front of Angus. So in front of Angus is obviously A. Catholic obviously gave C. No, Catholic gave C-A-T-H. Left, Catholic nurses left gives us. That's why I came back to this idea that either the nurses or the in was a superfluous word in that clue, because One, you can take either of them away and you're left with sufficient wordplay to put that L inside Catholic. So you take away the N and you get Catholic nurses left. You take away the nurses and you get Catholic with left in. Catholic left in. I was going to give Catholic. But I was wondering if I don't like leaving the in. I mean, in could potentially change to on. But I'm not sure where we get. I mean, that's just screaming out for 9 letters. For the first part of the message has been 9 letters. Screaming out for it. Because, of course, we have those 9, I know it's only 8 syllables. No, but we did lose 9 letters. We lost 9 letters from the 9 entries. But how do we correct part of that counter clue here to give us a correction that's an N? Sure. Because I'm fairly sure that we definitely don't get the end from the first across clue. That's clearly an extra clue with an extra word. Is there an S for letters? Let me see. No, I don't think there is. Because we go straight from band to bard through to burn turning into born. So we get the R from bard and the O from born in the clues for Threnos and Bahari. So there is no message there. There is no S between that. Well, thanks, JM SR. Thanks for your help. You certainly helped me get a few clues in. I appreciate that. Anyway, that's an ambiguity which I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of at some stage. Not quite able to get to the bottom of it just yet, though. I am... I'm going to get a glass of water and a snack and come back in a minute. So back to a wild plant for Edmund. The US word for brother. Changing the a deer? No. Fair? No. But we do have that. F-E-E-R is an archaic word for companion, or a spouse, or a mate, you know? It gives us brother. Let's do a pattern search on this. Looking for a wild plant, Spencerian word. Yeah. Briar. Certainly a wild plant. B-R-E-R, I mean, see how it is. Yeah, look at that. Southern US dialect for brother. I wonder if I would have got that if I'd just a little bit more brain power into it. Probably not. Nothing wrong with getting the odd leg up. B-R-E-R-E is what we ended up with. Plants. Plans becomes plant. Confirms. Confirms that. To answer that clue, and we're dealing with an extra T here. Gives us this I wonder if an Arab relatives are I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Berbers or something like that. I think with the ER Berbers, winners, box cattle winners outside too. Berber. Not missing a word. So Muslim people of North Africa is a Berber, B-R-E-R-B-E-R. That's not the answer. But it's definitely not a Q. In that word. So maybe we are actually looking for Qatar winners. Or Qatar winners. Qatar winners. How do you pronounce it? I've got no idea who won the World Cup last year. I still like the idea of Arab relatives being a reference to horses. Just not sure. And then we have all but one letter of the next clue, which for some reason I'm still not twigging onto. Department. Bid to get nothing. Cancels Easter. Department bid to get nothing. Cancels Easter. Bid to get nothing. It could be the E changes to an M and it becomes master. So we have bid to get nothing becomes cancels master. So we're deleting an M from something. I'm thinking, could it be we deleted an M from the start of something like misery or misers? M, I believe, is a abbreviation for master. It is. So we have M from misery. No, I don't think it was. Of course, its department can be a department in France, like a region of France, and that might be why it's not jumping out at me, because we're not actually looking for a word, we're looking for a proper noun. Isère is a department in France, there we go. So misery is a bid to get nothing. Misère, of course, in card games, misère. So the Easter becomes master. And it's misère without the M. So I can put that in. Pleased with that. So that gives us the second letter. So we have an M there as the extra letter. But between the M and the S we are missing a correction to the word flax, which would give us a word meaning feces, and that's from the clue below. The one that we just solved. So I think a few more people have joined. If you're listening, say hello, and if you have any ideas, then feel free to pop them into the comments. What could the correction be there to try and get a string of words out of here? So I think this is going to be something like 9-letter, 1 sound, perhaps. Art, ZNs. It seems to me it's likely to be a vowel. Flax, flux. Flux be a word for feces. It's definitely, excrement. So a euphemistic word for excrement. So it gives us flax turns to flux. That completes the passing of the clue that gave us the North American word for feces, and gives us a U there as one of the extra letters. Sorry, one of the corrected letters. And it's useful. Right, so we actually only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clues remaining, which I think is reasonably good progress. I'm certainly rather pleased with it. That includes just a single across clue, which is this one, ruminant. And I was working on it backwards on the basis of, well, maybe cloudy somewhat is D-I, the first 2 letters of dim. We're looking for, not a luminant, but a ruminant. I'm just going to do a pattern search for that. See if we can find an animal that chews the cud. No, we can't. So I can give up on that idea. I'm going to return to some of these down clues. So we did remove rufescent fruit from this clue. We know for sure that that's no longer meant to be there. So we now have spin yawing passage. We know there is no misprint in this clue. We know that it is a 6-letter word where if we lose either the first or second letter, we get a 5-letter word. When a spin can be can YR be short for yaw? Can. So I wonder if what we're looking at is something there. So that's the yaw, YR, in passage. And it's in passage. Height, dot, gyrate. To gyrate is to spin. And passage is a gate. That's the answer, has to be the answer. Which means that I think, unless Y-rate is a word, which stranger things have happened, but it's like wrapped. So the entry is great. The answer is gyrate, losing the Y. And we need to pull out of one of the other words then a word meaning great. I wonder, is great, can that be Caliban's cage? It's a cage. A grate is a cage. I wonder if what we're looking for in the clue below isn't to pull out a word made in, sorry, isn't to remove Caliban's cage, but just to remove the word cage. So Caliban's became mouldy, Trove talked of. I mean, if we pulled out the word cage there, if that is one of the extra letters, then that would define great. I am confident enough of that, I think, to act on that. So we're down to so few clues that clues remain that if we're not able to match up some of these amended words with extra, well, we should be easily able to match up some of those extra words. So this clue then becomes Caliban's become, so let me just highlight this. Caliban's become mouldy, Trove talked of. Caliban's became mouldy. So a Shakespearean word for rotted or became mouldy. Trove talked of. I mean, it's also like a homophone clue, but I'm not sure what various definitions of treasure could be. Just coming back up here to our ruminant or luminant. We do have that A now from grated, so we can put that in. Caliban's became mouldy, Trove talked of. I'm going to do an interesting search here. I'm going to actually look for, see whether or not we can find an entry that is actually attributed to the Tempest. Because the fact that it says Caliban's, I wonder if in Chambers there is actually an entry which is attributed to the Tempest. And if that doesn't work, I'll search for Caliban. Because sometimes when we're looking at particular words in the sort of etymology, given where Chambers does give an etymology, it can be that specific. So you can't actually see the thing here, but I've opened up a text search dialog box. My Chambers app, and it's currently just doing a search for the term the Tempest. But it hasn't actually returned anything, so it did not work. Give Caliban a go though. Once again, I suspect that won't work. No, it's all a little bit infuriating. I mean, I could easily get these out if I just did some pattern searches, but I do want to just completely exhaust my own brain power on these clues before I do. But it's a little bit annoying because we are sort of otherwise ready to move on to the next stage of the solve, I think. would otherwise be able to I would like to move on to the next stage of the solve, because as much fun as I've had with solving the clues so far, there is certainly a lot more going on here. Certainly a lot more going on. Let's go down to this one here. Well-off chap cuddled by female. Well-off chap cuddled by female. The after the Z-E-A. So it would give a corrected letter if there's a corrected letter here. Would go there between the Z, E and the A. Where are we? And I mean, it could be tell off, zeta, and zeta is a word. I like that. I mean, maybe W to T for tell off. Chap. And chap can have different meanings. Chap can mean to crack, a clock, to knock, a man or a boy or a fellow, to jaw. Maybe I'm wrong about the female being she. If I go back to the drawing board on that, we're looking for a word meaning tell off, potentially. Well, chap could be lad. Something scathing. Scathing. Maybe scathes it. Yeah. To blast, to scorch with invective. Can a cat be a chap? I suppose it can, like a man, a chap, slang. Scathe. There we go. So, that gives us, it confirms the T, so we have zeta in the, spelled out by the corrections. Just give me a second, I'm going to put that. It is, I think that's one which, you know, but by looking at likely letters to go in here, we're able to able to get a clue out. Just looking here as well, we might have a few too many letters here in some of these parts. So between the S and the U, and we've only got one letter there, one letter missing. We don't have anything between the O, N, E and the S. So how many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We should only have 39. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I suspect what that means is out of these two clues, which are here and here, one of them has an extra letter and one of them has a misprinted letter, one of them has an extra word, but I think we know, I think we're already operating on the basis that cage, this is an extra word, which would mean that this clue potentially is a clue that just involves a misprint with needlework, girl bags, truck, egos in Caledonia up. I mean, it could be eggs. Where's it go? Zeta. Just before we do that, I'm just going to come across to our remaining across clue, because we do have the T from scathe, which gives us a final letter of that across clue. Also means we're looking for a ruminant. If we are looking for a ruminant rather than a luminant, 6 letters ends in T. Let's go to a Chambers Dictionary and see if they have catalogued all the ruminants that we could potentially be looking for. All the possible ruminants. Here we go. A muskox. Doesn't really help us. That's suggesting that I also have a look at cattle and antelope. So let's have a look at all the antelopes. And antelope's a ruminant. Choose colour. Antelope, antelope, antelope. Antelopes include a bosbok, a diptych, doika, drezen, impala, inyala, kudu, lechwi, and nilgai, a nilgoi, pigag, and a reebok. None of which I'm particularly taken by, I've got to say. Let's have a look at cattle. Cattle. C-A-T-T-L-E. Some people have just missed a few ruminants. I mean, that's assuming that we are looking for a ruminant. 6 letters. Ancol, Dexter, Durham, Jersey, Sailors, Sussex, and Watusi. I don't have any luck with that. With needlework, girl bags drunk egos in Caledonia. Could it be nettle? Egos in Caledonia are up. Bottle. Dot off. I'm trying to think of words where we could. This is one of those ones where if you lose the first letter, it will potentially make another word. I just don't know what it could be. Where is it? Hello. Hello. Just kept cracking. But I just want to get to the end of these, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 remaining clues, just so we can say we've got a completed grid fill. And then, so that's it for part 3, and then come back and do the end game in part 4. Because we are not too far off just having a completed grid fill now. With needlework, girl bags drunk egos. Girl bags drunk egos in Caledonia up. I just can't. I think this is one with a misprint. I mean, drunk eggs maybe, but we've got. It's not quite hanging together. I'm going to do some searches on this. So we have something T, something LA. Let's see what we end up with. It's got to be a word where we can lose the first letter or the first or the second letter and it's still a word. And futile. I'll give you futile, but kettle? Kettle and ettle? No. Kettle, ettle, little, metal, mottle. where is Caledonia? Is that part of Scotland? Are we looking for a Scottish word? I know where New Caledonia is. Yeah, Caledonia is part of the Scottish Highlands. I should know that. So, looking for maybe a Scottish word for a variation, a misspelling of egos. So a word for girl, maybe going around bags, around a Scottish word reverse, which means like with needlework. So what, we're looking for an adjective or setial, small satyral bristle. Oh, here we go. Sutile. I like this because if it's sutile, then we can lose the U to become style, and we can lose the the S to become utile. I like that. So if this is sutile, the girl is Sue, and that is around drunk, return. So lit can be a word for drunk, but I'm just looking for the egos in Caledonia. There we go. Egos in Caledonia. I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute idiot. Egos in Caledonia is an indication of those are extra words, and that is what gives us cells. The answer to this clue is sutile. We do not know whether or not we are missing the U or the S yet. But we have solved that clue with a little bit of help from the pattern search. Now, utile could be a word meaning use. Style is a set of stairs. Not a word for style. I wonder if the new word is utile, because there is. Let me just write this down. I had a question mark over the word of use. So the extra words here are of use, not just use. That is, of course, utile. So we can match up utile with one of the definitions. So at the moment, I think the only extra word we have, the only augmented word we have which we haven't yet matched up is lin, L-I-N. So I'll just indicate that we dropped the S there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, and it's Caliban's cage. What is that? So, I mean, maybe we don't have an extra letter here. Maybe that's it. The end of the message is Zeta ends. His arts. Zeta ends. And we'll come back to that. Because, I mean, there might be a few parts of the end game that we still need to straighten out. I'll come back to that. That gives us illuminant stars back in cloudy somewhat. Stars back could simply be R for the last letter of stars. And cloudy somewhat could be a 6-letter word meaning cloudy, which is where we've just removed the last letter. So R in a shortened word for cloudy. And maybe I'm completely wrong as well about whether or not we're looking for a luminant or a ruminant. That word's for cloudy. Blurry, gloomy, leaden, opaque, sombre, blurred, dim, dark. Cloudy can just be an abbreviation for C. I'm going to skip to the pattern search on this one. See if we can find ourselves our ruminant. Pronghorn. Pronghorn is a antelope-like ruminant given by Cabrit. Ah, fuck, I'm an idiot. So, just on the right track there a bit. So, cloudy, C, a bit is somewhat, and stars back is R, and that gives us Cabret. Idiot. And on top of that, we have an extra confirmed correction. We have an R here. What's like, read something like this: 9 letters, one's round. I wonder if that's a D. I wonder if that's a D. If we had, can we have a misspelt D in here? Could cattle become detar? No. Docks? No. Dab? No. Red? Dinners. When is it could change to dinners? I am going to do a pattern search on this one too. Barbs and barbecues. Oh. Arab relatives are barbs. This is clever. Where are we? Yeah, so a barb is a racing horse related to the Arab. Qatar, to box Qatar, or Qatar, Q. And barbecues is dinners outside. That is devilishly devilishly disguised. Because one looks at that and they think, well, how on earth could you get a Q in there? I know I'm Australian and barbecues are sort of our thing, but despite the fact that barbecues are our thing, I've never actually seen it in the wild spelt in the way that Chambers spells it. It's BAR-B-Q. Barbecues, it's a word. Where are we? So that completes all but one of our entries. Let me Caliban's Cage one. So we now have something that ends in ARND. And of course we're working on let me just count up the number of extra letters that we do have. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 14, 19, 22, 23, 26, 29, 30, 34, 38. I think somewhere in here I'm missing a letter. So I think we definitely need one from nurses. N-I-N-E L-E-T-T-E-R O-N-S R-O-U-N D-M-U-S, either a C or a K. H-I-S-A-R. No, I know where it is. This clue here, I think there's a T in here because the clue that gave us Rego, which is shrine number on plate say born by recto, which is EG inside RO. I thought shrine was an extra word. I think the H actually changes to a T. And what we have is strine, which is an extraordinarily obscure indicator that we are looking for an Australian word because, of course, I mean, Rego just seems like a normal word to me because I'm Australian, but in Chambers, of course, it is defined as an informal Australian word, I don't think. So it, of course, has to have that indicator that we're looking for an Australian word. So that gives us 39 letters in total. So we have, I think the C here, I think it's likely to be a K, not a C, because skag can be spelled with a K or a C. So I think what we're looking for is 9 letter, one's round, we're a musk, his, or musky starts, zeta ends. Musky? Musk high. And MU's high starts. Is that K? Maybe. Oh God. this, yeah, no, this part of the clue here is. It could be round Musk, higher starts as Eta ends. I mean, what have we got? So, those misprints spell information about certain objects reshaped to fit the grid and hints for extracting a 9-word set of instructions from them. Oh, it's so obscure. So obscure. Really, really obscure. I think I'm going to need to come back and do another video just on the end game. Anyway, for the time being, we only have one more clue that we need to get out so we can solve this. And what we are looking for is, I believe, colour bands became mouldy. Trove talked of. I'm going to jump straight to the pattern search here because we've spent too much time looking at this already. We could be looking for Shakespearean word for became, and mouldy could just be an indicator that we are looking for an obsolete word. Or mouldy, good, cleared, mouldy, hoard. Yeah, here we go, Shakespearean word. To become mouldy is H-O-A-R, hoard. And trove is a hoard, H-O-R-D-E, and of course talked of out loud gives us hoard. Now, that would mean, just give me a second. We either lose the O or the H. So we need to lose one of those letters to fit it in. So head. Head would be to run post haste. Went post haste would be head. We have that as one of our extra definitions which we extracted from the other clues, which means I'm comfortable and confident to say that the entry is head, and what has been lost from hoard is the O. So what do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The only just trying to think of what letters have we pulled out of things. I don't think nurse is in. I don't think that's one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, we are looking for 10 clues that need 1 to 3 consecutive words removed. Only 9 of those extras describe an altered entry. I'm just going to look up chine, because the one I haven't attributed is, because the chine is a ravine, which is a ling. I think I was looking at that before, but I just didn't make the link when I was looking at the word chine here. So we can confirm ling there. That is the answer to this clue, which means that we have, I think, completed this stage of the grid fill. Sorry, 1 second. I'm just going to leave the shortened, just in case it's relevant, the shortened entries here. We have completed Lynn, matched all of those up, which means that the 10th set of extra words is Saturday Review. So I'm just going to make a note of that because I've got no doubt that's going to be thematically relevant at some future stage. I don't want to get too far into the end game, but I do want to I'm not trying to do that. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get too far into the end game because we still. Sorry, 1 second. We still have a missing N here from I think the second clue, but I'm not sure what we correct in the second clue to get that. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily matter. 9 of the extras define an altered entry. We've got those. The positions of the entry's surviving letter in their definition, give, in clue order of the definitions, word lengths for the above instruction set. Okay, that's part of the end game. I'm going to come back to that later. I think this is a nice, neat place to end where we are at now because we have got a full grid fill. I think we have set aside the data that we need to solve the rest of the puzzle. I'm going to stop the stream now and I'll come back to this maybe tonight or tomorrow. See you guys later.